You wake up to the smell of camphor already burning in the next room. Your mother lit it before dawn. Your throat is dry. The window stays shut, even though the air inside is starting to feel thick. Outside, you can already hear the brass bands warming up 3 streets over. Today is the parade, the biggest one this city has ever thrown. 200,000 people are about to pack themselves shoulder to shoulder along Broad Street. You don't know it yet, but in 72 hours, every hospital bed in Philadelphia will be full. Not half full, full. Right now, a flu vaccine takes you 15 minutes at a pharmacy and a bandage on your arm. In 1918, there is no vaccine. There is no flu shot. There is only a piece of cloth you stitched yourself last night by candlelight, and a jar of camphor your mother swears will keep the sickness out of the house. You don't know any of that yet. Right now, you're just trying to decide if the mask you made is good enough to wear outside. What would you have used to cover your face if the only material in the house was an old bedsheet? Nobody in your house calls it the Spanish flu. Yet. That name hasn't even stuck. Right now it's just the grip, a word doctors use for any bad seasonal cold. Nobody tells you this version is different. A historian named John M. Barry spent years digging through military and city records from this exact autumn. He found something strange. This sickness didn't go after the old and the weak first, the way flu normally does. It went after the young, the strong soldiers in their 20s, healthy one morning, drowning in their own lungs by nightfall. Their bodies turning a strange shade of blue-grey before they died from lack of oxygen. You don't know that detail yet either. What you do know is that the man running this city's health department is a doctor named Wilmer Cruson. He has already been warned. Navy doctors told him 6 sailors were filling up the receiving ship at the yard. He let the parade go forward anyway. Why would he cancel a celebration meant to sell millions of dollars in war bonds over what looks like a bad cold? So you do what everyone around you is doing. You sit at the kitchen table with a needle, a spool of thread, and a strip of cheesecloth. And you make yourself a mask. The American Red Cross has been mailing out instructions for weeks. Layers of gauze, folded and stitched, tied behind the head with 2 loops of string. It looks less like medicine and more like something you'd use to strain soup. And in a way, that's almost exactly what it does. The weave is wide enough, but the virus passes through it like smoke through a screen door. You don't know that. You just know it's the only thing standing between your face and 200,000 strangers. Would you have trusted 6 layers of cheesecloth to keep you breathing safely through a crowd that size? Before you leave, your mother hands you something else. A small glass jar, warm from the stove, filled with melted camphor and eucalyptus oil. She rubs it on your chest, then makes you breathe over a bowl of it. Steam rising into your face like you're trying to cure a head cold with a kitchen pot. People across the city are doing the same thing tonight, right down to lighting sulfur candles in their bedrooms, hoping the smoke scrubs the sickness out of the air. None of it does what they think it does. Today, you just take a decongestant tablet with a glass of water and go back to sleep. In 1918, you boil herbs on a stove and pray the smell is doing something. Out on the street, the bands are already playing. Soldiers march 20 across. Red Cross nurses wave from open cars. Liberty Bond posters hang from every building. Nobody in that crowd is wearing a mask, stitched as carefully as yours. And nobody seems worried. The grip was last week's headline. Today, it's just noise under the music. You step outside, your homemade mask tied behind your ears, smelling faintly of camphor, and join the crowd. 3 days later, the bands are gone. So is the music. What's left is a sound you've never heard before. Ambulance bells, one after another, all through the night, never stopping long enough for the street to go quiet. Your mother is the one who gets sick first. By the second night, her lips have a strange tint to them. Not quite blue, not quite grey, but close enough that you stop pretending it's just a cold. You run to the hospital 3 blocks over. The doors are propped open with sandbags, because there's nowhere left to put anyone. A nurse in the doorway doesn't even ask your name. She just shakes her head and tells you to take your mother home and keep her warm. That's it. That's the entire treatment plan in 1918. Keep her warm. So you do the only thing you know how to do. You clear out the back bedroom and hang a wet sheet over the doorway. Because someone told you it traps the sickness inside the room. You set a small pot of camphor and eucalyptus oil on the stove to steam through the night. The same mixture your mother rubbed on your own chest 3 days ago, except now you're the one boiling it, hoping it does for her what it never really did for anyone. You don't know yet that the wet sheet does almost nothing, and that the steam mostly just makes the room smell less like sickness. You only know it's the only tool in the house. Would you have known any better, with no doctor coming and no medicine to give? Down the street, men in horse carts are going house to house. The same carts that used to collect coal, now collecting bodies. Because the undertakers ran out of coffins days ago. Some families leave their dead wrapped on the front porch overnight, because there's no one left to carry them inside a morgue that's already 3 deep in every hallway. This is the part of the story that gets left out of the textbooks. A historian named John M. Barry called it the worst single week any American city has ever lived through. In that 1 week alone, more than 4,500 people died in Philadelphia. Not over a year. Over 7 days, the city that threw the biggest parade it had ever seen became the city with the highest death rate in the country. It happened within 72 hours. Dr. Wilmer Cruzen, the same man who let the parade go forward, eventually shut down every school, theatre and church. 2 weeks too late for thousands of families. The American Red Cross ran out of nurses to send. They ran out of gauze to make new masks. Some neighbourhoods started making their own from old curtains, just like you did. Except now everyone understands why. And almost nobody believes a strip of cloth tied behind the ears is going to be enough. Your mother survives. Not because of the wet sheet, not because of the camphor, but mostly because her body fights it off on its own, the way most cases in the city eventually do. You won't learn the real numbers for years. Worldwide, this sickness will end up killing somewhere between 50 million and 100 million people. Before it's finished, more than the entire war that the parade was supposed to be raising money for. If you had known the mask wouldn't fully protect you, would you still have made it anyway? And the steam wouldn't fully cure her, would you still have made that too? Just to have something to do with your hands while you waited. By the time the worst of it passes, you've spent weeks treating sickness with cloth, smoke, and steam. Because that's all anyone in your position had. Not because you didn't know better, because nothing better existed yet. Here's the part that should bother you. The wet sheet over the doorway, the camphor steaming on the stove, the cheesecloth mask tied behind your ears. None of it actually stopped the virus. Not in any way doctors today would recognize. You were never protected. You were just busy. And in 1918, being busy was the closest thing to hope that anyone had. The real twist isn't that those tools failed. It's that almost nobody in your house, your street, or your city knew that yet. They kept boiling herbs and stitching cloth for months after the worst week had already passed. Because doing something always feels better than doing nothing, even when the something doesn't work. Today, you'd skip all of it. A real mask, properly rated, sitting in a drawer. A flu shot, a few dollars and 15 minutes at a pharmacy, most years before the season even starts. A phone call to a doctor instead of a sprint to a hospital with sandbags propping the doors open. None of that existed for your mother. All she had was a jar of camphor and a son willing to boil it for her all night, every night. Until the fever finally broke. You wake up again, weeks later this time, and the smell of camphor is finally gone from the house. The window is open. The street outside is quiet. Not the eerie quiet of ambulance bells between houses. Just an ordinary morning. Traffic, voices, someone sweeping a porch. You didn't know it that first morning, stitching cloth by candlelight, but the mask you made with your own hands, the steam you boiled with your own hands, that was the entire medical system available to you. Not a hospital. Not a vaccine. Just cloth, smoke, and whatever your hands could make in time.